usual land cards where it's got Maze of Iths and Wastelands and Rashade Imports and everything so that it can capitalize on Life from the Loam with cards like Exploration and Mana Bond to speed up its mana development.
Talaria West out there. How many Maze of Ith are in the main?
Four.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
I love seeing 4.
The thing that's strange to me is he's only playing 2 Mana Bonds. Mana Bond I thought was always one of those kind of cards that they want to play more than almost anything. But he's also playing Intuition and lots of Raven Crimes.
Springleaf Drum versus Rishadan Port Talaria West. A Frogbite comes down, then we get the drum off of that to a Signal Pest. 5 permanents in play on turn 2. Lands with a slow start here. Turn 3, boom, Oblivion Stone.
Well, that's pretty darn good against Affinity, right?
Wow.
Now, does Oblivion... I mean,
I'm actually curious if it hits
doesn't
land.
hit artifact lands, right?
I am not sure, but I think it does not.
Yeah, because I think it's not ordered the same as Deed.
Yeah, it was in the same set, right?
Right.
Then it does not hit lands.
But that's still going to be very powerful, because just sweeping the board for the non-land permanents is going to be very effective. Although it is 2 turns away from happening, but it's going to cause David to have to slow his roll a little bit.
What kind of land is that at the top? Is that an Inky? Inkmoth Nexus up there at the top? On Goldfarb's side?
Yep. Definitely.
Okay, yeah, just the edge of it makes it...
Yep.
And we see Port for the Inkmoth and a... how am I getting the green? Tranquil Thicket for Bobby Kovacs. In for yet another 3 damage. Now, despite the fact that the Oblivion Stone is not going to be able to destroy those artifact lands, it really has this nice ability just to clear out a huge amount of cards. Now with that Maze of Ith, David Goldfarb having no damage he can get through with unless he gets a new creature onto the table.
Maze of Ith is just incredible in this land deck because it's not even just a removal spell. It removes your best creature all the time, and sometimes that's the one that's wearing a cranial plating. Sometimes it causes you to have to overexert into the Oblivion Stone.
And there was a second Inkmoth Nexus off of the camera outside of our eye shot there, so 2 poison comes through to hit Bobby Kovacs.
So Stoneforge Mystic fetching up cranial plating.
Nice. This threatens a kill on the next turn.
And this is very exciting because the Oblivion, even if the Oblivion Stone destroys everything, the cranial plating can still put a huge bonus on the Inkmoth Nexus the following turn.
Yeah.
And even if he hits it with the Maze of Ith, once he gets a little bit more black mana down from Springleaf Drums, Mox Opals, and Vaults of Whispers, he'll be able to move it around at instant speed.
You can see those awesome squirrel tokens there. Wasteland from Bobby Kovacs. That helps out a little bit.
It helps out a fair bit. Wow. As soon as Bobby Kovacs finds a life from the loam, it's gonna be a tough spot for Goldfarb.
Amusingly, on his deck list, Bobby Kovacs puts all of his land in the spells column.
And all of his spells in the lands column.
Good times. I like little things like that.
Well, and it makes sense because the lands column is a little smaller, and he has so many different lands, they don't fit in the lands category.
And his deck really is about his lands.
Very cool.
And we're going to see 2 mana here, tapped by Dave Goldfarb. Or untapped, tap, untap.
He's not so sure he wants to walk that plating into the Oblivion Stone.
It's a really valuable tool. I mean, just with what he has on the table, he can threaten enough to Bobby Kovacs that perhaps Bobby will be forced to stone, and then having that plating to follow up with. Here they come. That is a total of 5 damage coming on in. Let's make it 2. Let's come back to the house frog. Okay. That does untap that frog. Mox Opal.
Committing a little bit more mana to the board. So Goldfarb decides he's seen enough. He's ready to activate Oblivion Stone.
End of the turn. Boom, boom, boom. All of it goes down. Now, a Wasteland plus a Rishadan Port does mean that David Goldfarb's 2 Inkmoth Nexus do not represent a means to kill him. The Maze of Ith, a third answer to those Inkmoth Nexuses. Funky forest there. Full art.
And this is the one basic land.
Mana Bond, that's what we were talking about before.
Absolutely.
And what do we got? We got another Maze of Ith in his hand and a Life from the Loam.
Wow, Life from the Loam is going to be incredible.
Boom, Loam. Boom, Port. Boom, Maze. Wow.
This is a tough spot for Goldfarb.
Goldfarb in his main deck, I think he's going to need to get Tezzeret somehow onto the table in order to get out of this.
Yeah, because, I mean, he certainly can't win with his lands, and he's several creatures behind being able to get ahead of these Maze of Iths. A very fortunate draw, that one Oblivion Stone. It's the only Oblivion Stone in his deck, and one of only 3 defensive cards in his deck. Among the spells, anyway. 1 Engineer Explosives, 1 Ensnaring Bridge, and 1 Oblivion Stone.
A Signal Pest getting on the table.
And this Goldfarb's going to run out of mana very fast, as he's getting wastelanded every turn.
Cranial Plating. Springleaf Drum. Resets his table a little bit, but it still doesn't look very threatening to Bobby Kovacs here. Loam, what do we got?
So now he did not equip the Signal Pest with the plating.
We get a Wasteland number 2, a Creeping Tar Pit, and a second Mana Bond.
Now why didn't he dredge his Loam?
He did, actually.
Oh, he did. Okay,
That's where that came from.
Perfect.
And here's the Loam. 3 land in the yard. I believe it's 2 Wastelands and a Creeping Tar Pit. Or is it a Telaria West? It might be a Telaria West. Is there a Creeping Tar Pit in his deck?
Yep, there is.
2 Creeping Tar Pits. Not messing around. There's the Tar Pit. And then end of the turn Mana Bond trigger. 2 Wastelands. Good lord.
Still in the end step. Shut off the blue, shut off the Nexus.
He might just go for color.
The 3rd white can't possibly be,
Nope, he goes for the Nexus, the threats.
Just in case something goes wrong. Like, what if his opponent just randomly... I mean...
Yeah. What? Okay. And then tap with Rishadan Port. 2 Maze of Iths for the 1 creature. Another Springleaf Drum on the table. And David not bothering to even let that happen. We got the Loam. Looks like a Verdant Catacombs, a Creeping Tar Pit, and a Wasteland. Wow. Let's get triple Wasteland here, maybe?
That sounds pretty great. Goldfarb very quickly going to have no mana.
You know, one thing I have to say I've never done is double then triple Wastelanded my opponent in successive turns.
Yeah, I think it's already too late.
Wow.
And we didn't see a single Leyline of the Void this whole weekend, did we?
Yeah, David Goldfarb scooping it up. Now, before we go to talk about the sideboarding, the first game win goes to Bobby Kovacs, and at home, you also can win something. As we did earlier this morning, we were giving away a bunch of stuff, giving away some Star City Games Premium to everyone out there in Twitterland, and you can be a part of that. I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Patrick Chapin. We just watched the first game of the top 8 of this Legacy Open. Now, hashtag SCG Premium, you can see it right there. If you correctly answer a trivia question, correctly answer it, one lucky person who tweets with that hashtag and the correct answer will win 3 free months of Star City Games Premium. We'll repeat this contest in the semifinals, where we give away 6 free months of Star City Games Premium. And then finally, in the finals, we'll be giving away 4 days of fun.
The best 4 days in gaming.
That's right. Gen Con, Indianapolis. That's going to be in mid-August. A Gen Con badge, so you can get into Gen Con, 4 days of gaming, for absolutely free. So, in order to ask you this question, it's pretty simple. What deck in the top 8 of the Star City Games Open Series, the Legacy Day, in this top 8, is the only deck to have 2 copies in the top 8? For today, what archetype is the only one in our top 8 to have 2 copies?
Tweet it here.
SCG Premium right there. Now going to
add us at SCG Live.
Feel free. For the sideboarding, Patrick, we've got this deck, the Affinity deck, that really had itself torn up. What's it going to do in the sideboard?
So, number 1, Grafsdigger's Cage. That's like, wait, that's like his graveyard hate? I think he's actually going to get hurt by the fact that I don't think it stops Life from the Loam. Right? Like,
Not unless he's trying to stop a Crucible.
No. So the fact that this is where Grafdigger's Cage over Relic of Progenitus or Torment's Crypt really ends up hurting him. So, I mean, he's
looking pretty weak, I think.
Right, like, on the play, I guess you can play Thoughtseize because you're hoping to hit his Mana Bond or his Exploration, but that doesn't even work against Life from the Loam.
I mean, I think that might be all he can do is just go the 3 discard like you're talking about, and if he really, really, really wants to, the 4 Spell Pierce, and then just pray.
So, I mean, he's probably going to cut these 4 dispatches.
Yeah, the dispatches are
literally
weak.
Just anything he can do. I guess 2 Thoughtseizes, maybe Duress. Yeah, 2 Thoughtseizes in a Duress, that's
And
something.
He might bring in the Etched Champion as a body.
Just as a body? I mean, is the Champion better than the Canonist? Because the Canonist costs 2.
2? The Canonist is probably better.
Maybe it's so bad you have to bring in fresh volunteers. Meanwhile, Bobby Kovacs has access to Engineer Explosives and Crossing Grip. Is he going to want Curse Totem?
I actually like another card in his sideboard too.
Dark Confidant?
Trinisphere.
Trinisphere
Makes everything cost 3. You might notice that he's used to paying 0 for most of the stuff in his deck. He does have some stuff that actually naturally costs 3, but with his approach of Wasteland Port, I wouldn't be upset to see a Trinisphere come in, but I do think we start with the Crossing Grips.
Yeah,
Explosives Grip.
Particularly in the draw, I think it might be a little risky to play the Trinisphere just because there's such a good chance that Goldfarb will have played every single one of his cards by the second turn.
Right.
But
maybe I'm thinking one copy. Just having it there, you're not going to have a second one getting your own way, maybe.
And it's always tricky. You always ask yourself how do you even sideboard with these land decks? 'Cause, like, you can sideboard out land, you can sideboard all kinds of land, but like,
when do you stop being a lands deck if you do that?
Now, Raven's Crime, not super good in this matchup.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the most I would want is 1, and I might want none.
Yeah, so I think if nothing else, that those turn into Crossing Grip and Engineer Explosives, and then potentially he might want Dark Confidant, Chalice of the Void, Trinisphere. I mean, he's going to have more experience. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the 36 land deck.
Mean,
I would like to point out that these decks are getting less and less land as time goes on. They used to be 42 land deck, then 40, then 39, then 37. Now he's 36 out of 61. Next thing you know, he's only going to be playing like 60% mana.
I mean, I know some red decks that attack that play 60% mana.
So,
what percent mana is elves?
The elf combo, it depends on what you count as mana. 25, because obviously you would only count forests.
And it looks to me like David Goldfarb is just... He doesn't have an excited expression on his face there.
This doesn't seem like the best matchup for his affinity deck.
Yeah. I mean, a lands deck typically is built with an attacker in mind. And an affinity deck is an attacking deck.
Right. The lands deck is sort of from the perspective of, yeah, I probably can't beat most of the unfair decks, but the fair decks have got no shot against me.
Mox Opal, Seat of Synod. Springleaf Drum, that turns on the Opal. We're going to see a Frogmite? Frogmite, that's going to cast a Signal Pest? There it is.
Aggressive.
Turn 1. Oh, very aggressive. 5 permanents in play, turn 1.
If you can play a Cranial Plating next turn, I mean, that's a clock. As long as his opponent doesn't...
No Mazavith.
God, that's the best possible thing you could hope for.
Wow.
No Mazavith, no Exploration,
Was Bobby
no Mana Bond.
so confident that he kept a hand that might be just too slow for the
Like
kind of draw that David needs?
Wow.
David needs a certain kind of draw.
I hope he didn't keep the just Intuition as his first play. Turn 3 Intuition.
Wow. Mystic. Wonder what it's getting. Oh, surprise. It's not going to quite be able to come into play and attack with this turn.
Nope.
But next turn.
And does he even have another land?
I don't know.
He can't even play it this turn if he doesn't have another land.
Let's find out. 1 for a Thoughtcast, perhaps? What's he doing there with only 1 mana? Thoughtcast.
This is as good as it gets. I mean, this is what Goldfarb has really, this is a very good start.
3 damage coming on in. Does he have another land? No. Or wait. There's a pause happening here.
Yeah, no land. However, he doesn't have enough mana. He can still play the plating and equip and attack next turn.
Bobby Kovacs.
Kovacs doesn't play a Mazavith.
What do we got there? Misty.
Is he really just on the turn 2?
Turn 2 loam?
The turn 3 glimpse plan? Or turn 2 loam, get back a fetch land?
That would seem to be very unhappy. Maybe it's a turn 2 mana bond. Well, I would still want to put the first turn mana bond because then you get the creeping tarpon into play. Like, yeah, it's probably a loam. It was probably a slow loam draw.
Maybe he has ensnaring bridge.
Well, that's interesting. Exploration.
Or maybe, is it possible he just didn't have the green mana last turn?
Rishadan Port. Maybe he top decked that Misty Rainforest.
Well, the nice thing is that this actually keeps the cranial... Oh, he needed to Stoneforge down the cranial plating.
Wow. That is an ability that can be used as an instant.
If he would have Stoneforged down the cranial plating, he could have attacked with it this turn.
Maybe he is. Or did he already draw? Nope. Duress. What you got? Crucible, Intuition, something. Urborg?
Slow draw.
Grossen Grip.
So what do you think? Is he going to take the Grossen Grip just because he wants to get rid of the counterplay, or is he going to take the Intuition? Like, surely the Crucible is just too bad from this position. Like, if you take the Intuition, the Crucible isn't even good. Grossen Grip, on the other hand, would slow Goldfarb's clock down a bit, whereas if somehow Kovacs can survive, I mean, if he just, like, for instance, what if he just Intuitions for, I don't know, 2 Mazevists and a loam?
That would be A-okay.
Yeah.
And there it goes.
He does take the Intuition.
I mean, it will take Bobby Kovacs' whole turn to Grossen Grip the cranial plate. 3 damage coming on in. And what's that doing? 1 more for what?
Thoughtcast?
Vault Scourge.
A little more clock. I like it. See, I love an affinity deck. There's something pure and good and wholesome. It's like Hypergenesis and Dredge.
And we see tutoring here, Talaria West becoming what? I think you're right. No Wastelands for David Goldfarb. Ooh, Glacial Chasm.
Setting up the full unlock. Because now with Exploration, Glacial Chasm, and another land, each turn he can play the other land and the Glacial Chasm, and then each turn not pay the upkeep, let him go away, and then play the same ones.
Are there any outs for David here? Tezzeret.
Huh. This is a really bad matchup.
Oh my god.
What about Inkmoth Nexus? Is that?
I don't know how the interaction works.
Nexus can get through.
Oh boy.
For all of you wondering at home about the bowl in the china shop that you hear in the background.
Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you. Glacial Chasm will even stop the Nexus. Poison is still damage. Yeah.
That's... So, he's going to need Tezzeret.
Tezzeret and only 2 in his deck.
Yeah, this... So do we have another match lined up? Because this one will be done probably before we find out about the next matchup to go to. This was a massacre. Who's Bobby going to play in the next round? The winner of Dredge versus Rug Delver. That's interesting because the Rug Delver deck could struggle an awful lot against this lands deck, whereas the Dredge deck might just punish him with a timely Leyline of the Void.
And a Stoneforge Mystic is going to search through the library and get 1 more card out of the deck.
All right.
A word from the floor. Glenn Jones lets us know that Dredge is up 1 game versus Rug in the hands of Justin Haas versus Jeremy Stowe. I do like Dredge against Rug Delver.
Yeah, I mean, who in this top 8 can beat Dredge?
I think Lance can beat Dredge.
Leyline of the Void is a tough one.
This is true.
You can lock him out, though. Once you lock him out, still, Leyline of the Void. Let's take a look. Does the Dredge deck actually have Leyline of the Void? They always do. I mean, they're the type. So that's one of the great ironies of Legacy, is that the only people who play Leyline of the Void are the people who cannot beat it.
No Leyline.
There's no Leyline of the Voids.
In play right now, Bobby Kovacs is Crucible Glacial Chasming. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan. I'm joined in the booth here by Patrick Chapin. The really scary thing about Glacial Chasm Crucible, against a deck that attacks for victory, that Glacial Chasm, take it, get rid of it, let it go away, and then just put it right back into play with your Crucible of the Worlds. And you can do that as often as you'd like, in terms of once a turn, so to speak.
Wow, this is... Wow. So, the Dredge deck is still really fast, though. So, I mean, like, the Dredge deck could win just by speeding through it. The Rug Delver deck has some graveyard hate. I mean, it has Scavenging Ooze, Tormod's Crypt, Surgical Extraction. That's a variety of different pieces of hate. The Maverick deck...
Rishadan Port from Bobby Kovacs.
Maverick deck, not really a lot of ways to interact. The Elf combo decks... The Elf combo decks are big favorites.
There we go.
They're just so much faster than the land deck.
Now, the land deck, their only real plan is probably going to be Chalice and Trinisphere.
Wow, and he does have 4 Chalices and 2 Trinispheres and an Ancient Explosives and another Explosives in the main deck. And Cursed Totem. Jeez, I think Bobby Kovacs got all the tools.
And away goes the Glacial Chasm. We're going to go to the draw step, see what happens. Good times for Bobby Kovacs today, perhaps. And he goes land from the hand.
I'm glad they don't make cards like Glacial Chasm anymore. Where the game is over, but we have to... I mean, I guess it's not over. You could just play Tezzeret, but like...
Loam.
This is a tough one. Never give up, though.
There's a Solaria West, a Urborg, and a... He's leaving that Glacial Chasm in the yard.
He just wants to play it from his Crucible because he's got, you know, style.
Yep. He goes Tolaria West to the yard, searching up. Zuranor? Maybe?
It's an interesting idea.
Oh my god! Tabernacle, Tabernacle of Pendrelvale.
Well, that's $275 well spent. Wow.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Glacial Fort Chasm comes down again.
Okay. And
we try to maintain some kind of game state here. David Goldfarb tapping what land he can.
There's the Tezzeret. Wow. We're going to have a game? He's not going to have enough time, though, right? Like...
Wow.
I mean... Like... First of all, where's he getting all this mana from?
Well, he has not... Bobby Kovacs did not put down the Tabernacle. He put down the Glacial Chasm.
Oh, no! What have you done?
What can Bobby Kovacs do in time?
Attack with a Creeping Tar Pit.
It is unblockable.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Dude, this is why he plays Creeping Tar Pit. Yes. Yes.
Oh boy, now at this point, amusingly, perhaps ironically, David Goldfarb, his kingdom for a dispatch.
No. Is there any way? Could he possibly have kept it?
Oh.
Who sees this being the future? No, it's not. It's not possible.
Oh, Nicodemus, what do we got? Mox. Discard something. Can't quite tell what.
Looks like, is that an Urborg?
I can't tell with Urborg.
Tomb of Yawgmoth, who's really Mishra.
Here's the Creeping Tar Pit.
Don't tell anybody, spoiler.
No, check that card out. It's not Fear.
No.
Not Fear.
No.
Come back into play, my friend.
No.
Okay, and perhaps time for a Tabernacle and a...
Yeah, I think Bobby Kovacs, that was a nice little sweat. He's like, whoa. But fortunately, that turn 1 Creeping Tar Pit. Look at pretty
that.
brilliant right now, isn't it?
Tabernacle and Glacial Chasm. Okay, let's see how many of the permanents go away.
How is this really magic? Look what's going on. This is so weird.
This is why we love Magic, though, right?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
The fact that a deck with 52 artifacts in it playing against a deck with 36 land in it.
And
Tezzeret down to 1. I'm loving how many Planeswalkers, by the way, we've seen. We've seen Jace the Mind Sculptor, Elspeth Knight Errant, Tezzeret Agent of Bolas, Garruk Relentless. We didn't see any other ones, right? Like 4 different Planeswalkers?
I don't remember any other ones, but
Did we see Gideon? We didn't see Gideon.
There might have been a Gideon. I mean, there's a lot of matches we saw today so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the 12th match on camera today. Some of those were the top 8 earlier this morning.
So what's...
I mean,
so what's Goldfarb's plan here? Because never give up.
never give up.
Never give up. You know what Reed Duke would do? Never give up.
Oh, Lord.
That's what I'm saying.
So the Crucible in play is reminding me, I told you how I had never double wasteland, triple wastelanded in succeeding turns.
Yeah.
I have infinite strip mine somebody with fast spawn Crucible.
Wow, how did they get an infinite number of land in play?
Well, you know what I mean.
Dude, that's nice. And you gain the life with 0 orbs. So you can
Yes, exactly.
So I like
5
it.
color magic, 250 if you prefer. One of my favorite formats of all time.
Is that before EDH cut 150 cards out?
That's correct.
Dude, this is crazy.
Oh, look at this.
That was so close.
This actually on the right, the lands deck looks like it could be a 250 deck.
Dude, that was so close.
Oh man,
So
Bobby
close.
Kovacs showing the creeping tar pit action to Tezzeret.
Man, that drawing that Teleria West off the top was very timely.
Okay.
So, who are we going to go to next, do you think?
There's a couple of things that are in the pipeline. It's possible that we're going to go to another match. I know that one of the judges wanted to have a conversation with the camera with all of us here, so we'll see. Now,
And
before we go to anything else, right?
That's Bobby Kovac up 2-0.
Oh, wow.
With lands.
Back with his look at elves. So read those if you are
Number of
interested in
people.
either of those decks.
Yep. Number of people, experts on these Legacy decks. And that's one of the things. One of the nice things about Legacy is that some of these decks have been around for so many years that there's some really great sources of knowledge about them for people who are looking to get into it. Because a lot of these decks have been worked on for the last several years.
Absolutely.
Many years.
I know I was sitting on my porch with some Magic players for the Star City Games Madison Open, and one of them just had with him a 40-page document that was all discussing doomsday piles. Different doomsday piles
What a
for every
degenerate.
situation.
That's awesome.
Just sitting, having a drink, and reading doomsday piles.
Hey baby, do you want to come over to my place and read some Doomsday piles?
Chris Anderson wins 2-1 versus Deshaun Baylock with Maverick. That means a Elves player has advanced.
An Elves player in the top 4? That's not exactly what Bobby wanted to see.
And it sounds as though he's going to be facing off against Caleb Durward, his friend, with Elves.
That ensures an Elf Mirror match in the finals. I mean, an Elf Mirror match to see who reaches the finals.
That's right.
And with an Elf deck in the finals, it's going to be real hard for I guess the land deck does have the tools, though. He's got the explosives and the... But first, he's going to have to get through the winner of this Dredge and Rug Delver match.
Right now, our top 4 is 2 Elves deck, a Lands deck, and the winner of this match.
Let's go, Dredge!
I also, and this is not a set of words you'll hear from me very often, am rooting for Dredge here.
Dude, how can you not? Dredge is one of the good guys.
I love watching Rug Delver Mirrors. I think it's a really interesting chess match, but I really don't like the deck.
Dude, all I know is that I'm rooting for Dredge, Hypergenesis, let's see, Storm Combo, and anybody with Grizzlebrand.
Okay,
Elves
and we have to
too.
start
I'll vote for Elves.
Undiscovered Paradise, Faithless Looting.
As long as you can legitimately tell me that you can win on the second turn, you're alright by me.
What if it's the third turn? Is that too slow?
No, you have to be able to Goldfish turn 2 against some people.
Force of Will. This is a very good thing from Jeremy. Stopping the first outlets. It's possible Justin is out of outlets. Sometimes there's only one.
Dude, I love the format involves... I know, I'm going to pitch 2 cards because I can't let you discard 2 cards. So, Justin Haas, Undiscovered Paradise, gives him a small amount of mana, but his deck's, doesn't really have a high curve. It's going to be a while before he can flash back the looting. Tormod's Crypt. This is exactly what Jeremy wanted to do. I mean, Force of Will is a very underrated source of interaction with these Dredge decks because it's not like Vintage where they can just use Bazaar and never cast any spells. The Force of Will hitting the looting might have slowed Justin down, although we'll see. Does he have another? Is this another outlet? I have no idea what that foil is. Whatever it is, Spell Pierced. is that, what is that card that just got spell pierced? It's
I'm not quite sure.
Is that Cabal Therapy? No.
I can't tell. It's a foil something.
Promo foil, so it's probably, I mean, if it's Wizards of the Coast, it's probably Cabal Therapy, because what kind of a, there's no way Wizards would make an altered art version of, like, Stinkweed Imp or something, right? Alright, City of Brass. This means Justin Haas committing to slowly working up to having enough mana to actually Faithless Looting someday. Delver of Secrets putting a fast clock on him. This is exactly what Jeremy needs to be doing. He's got Tormod's Crypt, which is basically a double time walk later. It's a 0 mana time stretch. He's had 0 mana counter interaction.
Graveborn Cabal Therapy. Wow. Thank you to our director who knows all of the art.
Brainstorm. He's just looking for more interaction. So, he's being very deliberate. This is a very impressive showing from the Rug Delver deck. It's interesting that he still has Lightning Bolt in, but I guess he just doesn't have anything better to put in. But maybe Lightning Bolt for a little extra reach, but potentially, creature removal is something. It's also not to be underestimated that you can Lightning Bolt your own guy to get rid of the bridges. Matt Place was telling me a story about a game he saw where some kid was trying to explain to somebody else how to play Magic, just teaching him how to play Magic a little while ago. And he's like, okay, you have to do this, you have to do that. But he's trying to teach him with a dredge deck. Can you imagine trying to teach somebody how to play Magic with a dredge deck? And he's like, yeah, the guy, he's like, oh, no, you should have done this, you should have done this. You see, you're supposed to kill your own guy so that then you get rid of my bridge from belows. Dude, what a do you think there's any way in the world that kid wanted to play Magic next week if you taught him how to play from a dredge deck? And then you're only making fun of him because he didn't see to kill his own guy with his own cards? So, jeez. All right, so the insect comes in once again. Justin on a clock. Man, Wasteland too, trying to keep him below that critical 3 mana he needs, because Justin has to find a way to get his cards into the graveyard to start dredging.
Look at those lands. Blast from the Past there. Wow. Gemstone Mine, Undiscovered Paradise. I
would say they don't make lands like that anymore, but the Vivid lands weren't around too long ago, and the Vivid lands are definitely in the same league, power level-wise, I think.
Just seeing those two lands, I just love that just era of Magic, that moment in time. There were a lot of 5-color decks being played around that time, of all kinds of varieties.
What I love is seeing a 5th edition City of Brass. You might ask me, how do I know that's a 5th edition City of Brass?
Because it's ugly.
No, because I top-aided the Pro Tour that was 5th Visions with the City of Brass.
Awesome.
And for years, I always used that City of Brass that was stamped. It had that artwork, and it was hideous.
Delver comes on in, 3 more damage. That insect is doing some damage here. This game is going to be over pretty shortly.
Dude, this is an excellent showing from this Rug Delver deck.
11 to 19.
Man, he still has the Tormod's Crypt, which is a virtual it's a virtual time stretch waiting. Wow, Jeremy Stowe is going to meet an elf deck in the, no, not yet, no. Jeremy Stowe is going to go on to face lands. Wow. At least he has Tormod's Crypt, which is some amount of interaction. What else does he have? Surgical Extraction's a big game, too. Life from the Loam isn't terrible. Pidney Needle. Pidney Needle's a real card. He can name Wasteland. He can name Rashad Import. Yeah, he's got some tools. It's gonna be tough, but he's got Scavenging Ooze too. It's gonna be, and Force Will. It's gonna be tough, but he's got the tools. I think that match could go either way, and then they're gonna meet Elves in the finals. Now, of course, this is Dredge. I don't want to, underestimate it. For all I know, Justin might make 40 zombies next turn.
Tropical Island, my favorite dual land, and the Delver, now an Insectile Aberration. When to pull the trigger of the Crypt. Oof. He says go.
I'm with him. In this case, you've got him on such a short clock, you might as well wait.
Dredge.
Too many things can go wrong if you blow the Crypt now.
Troll. I didn't see anything else. Is that a Narcomoeba? I was thinking about the trigger there. Trigger happens.
Wow. See,
is that the response to the trigger? There you go. There you go. I was hoping that. I was like, wow, that looks like it's in play. In hand, Justin Haas has the imp that he just returned with the dredge.
Now what's interesting is the Stinkweed Imp can come down and block and lock up the board, but Jeremy has 2 lightning bolts in his hand.
And down to 6 life from the Cephalid Coliseum, down to 1. Oh my goodness.
Now Jeremy doesn't have any red mana, right?
If not in his hand, I don't think. If he does, it's dead.
Right. This is a tight one. Justin Haas, he's out from under the Tormod script though.
It's going to be in the next turn or two that we see the end of this game. Down to
Justin Haas
down
on a
to
1-turn
3.
clock. He's got to dredge and get back the Stinkweed Imp. No, he can't because he doesn't have the. Wow. Why not just play the Stinkweed Imp? You have to try to. Wow. Well, maybe he has another Stinkweed Imp. Otherwise, he's going to be dead on the next attack.
Well, I mean, he does have the... No, he has nothing. You're right. We both went to the same place.
Yep.
Oh, he's got 7 cards. No, he does not. He cannot use the Coliseum.
Nope, and I think... About to see, he wants to make sure there's nothing he's missing. This might be all she wrote for Justin Haas in his dredge deck. Sometimes the heroes die.
Dredge being portrayed as the hero.
Dude, have you ever read Paradise Lost?
I have. Though it's funny, the most I've ever heard Paradise Lost quoted, well, it's in Star Trek, the original series, in the episode where we meet Khan.
Justin Haas looks like he's going to do something.
Is this going to be another imp? Oh, he has one.
Force of Will.
And Force of Will. And
Jeremy
that's
Stowe,
it.
And that's the shake.
Jeremy
Stowe defeats Justin Haas 2-1 with Rug Delver versus Dredge.
Now we have a